Good morning everybody and welcome to the video. In this video, I'll be showing you a small interesting lab on AWS DMS. So if you're a beginner and you don't know anything about DMS, this is the right video for you. Just a note, data usually is not in one place. It's scattered across various places, right? Some data might be in DynamoDB, some might be in SQL Server, right? Some might be in some other places, MongoDB, right? It's scattered across all these places. You have to gather data into a central repository, or also called data lake, right? Where you can perform your OLAP queries using Athena, right? You can build dashboards using QuickSight. And of course, you can load data into Redshift as well if needed, right? But this video, I want to show you how we can leverage DMS to bring data, or basically bring certain tables that you require into S3. So let's see a small demo about AWS DMS. But by the way, you can also do this using Glue as well. You create a connector, a JDBC connector, then you basically create a crawler, you crawl over the particular tables, it will identify the schema, and then using Glue you can bring in data. But if you don't want to do that, you can also leverage DMS. So let's take a look at what is DMS, followed by a small interesting lab. So let's get started with the lab. So before we begin, a small note, this lab is not under the AWS free tier. So if you're going to do this lab with me, there will be a cost associated. By the way, I do have a database Aurora Postgres spinned up, just prior to the video, because usually spinning up databases takes time, and I have made a simple fake table with some fake data. So let me show you the use case again. Here you can see this is my Aurora Postgres. Aurora Postgres has a table called, under the schema called public, we have a table called user, and we have two users, that is Jasmine and Michael. Again, these are some data, I just inserted, and the goal is to bring this data into S3 for, our data lake purposes, right? So we're going to leverage AWS DMS to do that. Again, here you can see I have spinned up an Aurora Postgres cluster prior to the video, because usually, as I said, right, spinning up a database takes time. So what is the first step? The first step that we want to do is basically head over to AWS Database Migration Service. Again, you can bring in selected tables as well, as I mentioned. The first thing that you want to do is basically create a replica. You want to go to replication instances. I don't have any. I'm going to click on the orange button, and then I'm going to name the instance. I'm just going to name it anything, doesn't really matter, right? And I'll leave this to T3 medium, that's fine for the demo purposes. Here I'm going to select dev, because and 50 gigabytes is more than enough. Public access, I'm going to click on yes. And then you want to click on this orange button that says create replication instance. I have to choose a VPC, which I will do that shortly. And now I have essentially created a replication instance. It says creating. I'll resume once it is done. So the replication instance is finally ready. It took about 10 minutes. So now that's done. Now what we need to do is basically we need to create a source and a target endpoint. Basically the source is Aurora. We want to move data from Aurora to S3, right? So now I'm going to head over to the endpoint section, click on this orange button, click on source, select RDBMS, and then I'm going to select my database here. Then here I can write anything. I can write source as Aurora, right? Give it a description that you want to write. Then I'm gonna provide it manually. So that's my endpoint. That's the username. My password is also Postgres. The database name is also gonna be Postgres, right? That's that. And everything else you can leave it to default. That's great. And that's it, And then come on the bottom section and then click on the run test button. Again, this should be done in about a couple of seconds. So the test is running. Once this is done, then you can click on this orange button that says create endpoint. So what we have done is basically we just made our source. So that is our Aurora, right? And then similarly, we're going to define our target, and then we're going to create a task to move data from source to target, right? So should be done. Let me click on this orange button, and then now my source is active, right? Now the next part is again straightforward, guys. What I need to do is I need to define my target. My target is gonna be my S3. I have a bucket called a DMS that I made, and what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna empty my bucket quickly. So there you go. Now heading back to the DMS console, I'm on the endpoints. I'm gonna click on create. Now select target over here, and then here I'm gonna say target MS3. You can put whatever you want, and then here you can select a variety of targets such as Kinesis, Dynamo, Redshift, Kafka, whatever you like. I'm selecting S3 for the demo. You need to give an ARN. I just made an ARN here. I actually, just gave all the admin access just for the demo purposes, So heading over to the roles section, and I believe I had called this as DMS. Was that the name? Yeah, DMS. I'm gonna copy this ARN over here and head over to the DMS, put that one here, and after that, I will copy my S3 bucket name over here. So that's gonna go here on the bucket name. Bucket folder, I wanna put the data inside, let's say, DMS. So everything should go inside the folder called DMS, right? So basically pretty straightforward, right? We defined our target, I gave it a name, we defined the target as S3, we gave it an ARN, right? After that, after all that is done, you can click on run test. Again, this should be done. And then what you want to do is click on the orange button that says create endpoint. Again, it's pretty straightforward, right? Now you have a source, you have a target, and now all you need is a task, right? A task is basically is going to take the data from the source and move it into the target, right? It's as simple as that. Cannot be simpler than this, okay? So pretty self-explanatory, right? The first step was, again, I'm just repeating the step. The first step what we did is made a replication instance. The second step was create a source. The third step we made a target. And the fourth step is basically a task. Task is gonna move data from source to target, right? So now, again, straightforward, easy peasy, right? Database migration here, we're gonna click on the task section. And here I'm gonna click on create task. I'm gonna call move data, whatever you want to call, doesn't matter. Again, give it here. Then the replication instance, select that from the drop down. Source, select a source, select a target. Now here you may define your settings. So here target table preparation mode. I don't want to drop. I want to say do nothing, right? Then let's see over here in the table mapping section. Here we need to add something, right? So enter schema. I'm gonna leave this to wildcard. So what this means is, in a nutshell, you might have several basically schemas, right? Public, maybe landing, maybe whatever that is, right? So if you just want to move a particular schema or a particular table, you can essentially give, for example, here I can say, like public, right? Wildcard public, or here I can say, for example, I just want to move, let's say, the table called user, right? You may do so, but I'm going to leave everything to wildcard for now, and everything else to default, and then click on this button which says create task. At this point, my task has been created, and once the task has been created, it's gonna start running, which means what it's gonna do is it's gonna go here, it's gonna take the data from my Aurora Postgres under the schema public, it's gonna go inside a table called user. Again, I have two records for learning purpose or for teaching purpose. And what I'm expecting here is on the S3, I should see a folder called DMS, and I should see the data, right? So I'm gonna wait, and that was pretty fast, I would say. So here you can see, here you can also see the progress. Again, this is 0%, right? So I'm gonna collapse that. Once this is done to 100%, I might resume the video. Let me see if it's done or not. Yeah, it's gonna take about 5 to 10 minutes. So I'll resume back once this is complete, okay? So if you observe, the task has been completed. It's 100%. Took a little while, but it is complete. So now, if I go to S3, that's the bucket that we made, a DMS, public, user, and that's my data from Aurora. So here you can see I had only 2 records for POC, learning, teaching purposes. But if I download this and I quickly show you, here you can see those are the records that were added into S3. So yeah, it's literally that easy. Makes your life much easier. You would use this tool essentially when you want to bring data with CDC from various sources such as SQL Server, MySQL, and other sources. Makes your life much easy. No, you don't have to write code again with 4 or 5 steps. You're all set, right? All you gotta do is define the replication instance. You gotta define the source, the target, and then just create a task, and you're good to go. It's literally that easy and cannot get easier than that. I hope you have enjoyed a small demo on AWS DMS, and I'll make more tutorials on DMS. We're gonna make nice, amazing data lakes. We're gonna bring data from various sources using DMS. We're gonna bring it into Kinesis. From Kinesis, we're gonna run Apache Spark streaming job that's gonna convert this into a transactional data lake, maybe Apache Hudi, etc. But all of that is in the upcoming next video. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any more questions, list your question, and I'll see you guys in the next video.